Hi, this is highly functional autistic Johnny, but on the Asperger's spectrum. I think I ranked 7 before I went to uni when they tested me. And I'm going to do a review of this website here. I can just Aspergers101.com and let you know what an autistic Asperger's person thinks of this site. Or me individually, but yeah. Design and layout is fine, blue and white, normal black text with subheadings in blue is pretty decent layout, because I did a bit of web design in Flash. I never really got around to Dreamweaver as much, but I moved on from multimedia to FX, so I do more of the editing and production. Yeah. I'm from the UK. Okay. So this article is 20 things that a successful or adult with Asperger's understands and incorporates into every daily life. I'll let you know how I incorporate these 20 things, shall we? Starting from an early age, many Asperger's adults constantly feel they have little chance at success, productivity, or joy in the real world. Negative early life experiences that typically fall under the category of isolation, ignorance, and exclusion or shelter, in addition to present changes. Now, I was bullied when I was younger, but it never really... I sort of grew out of it as I went older, because I did go to a special needs school and made friends at college and uni, so I didn't really get to that isolated exclusion, as they say. I know it's hard for some people, like, sometimes I process information differently, so I have to... It takes me longer to do something some of the time, or I focus on one thing too much, and when I have 4 or 5 things to do at once, so present challenges, in addition to present challenges, collectively form this delusional mental emotional construct. Well, that depends on the person, really. I mean, there was a stage in my life where I was having anxiety and depression, but I figured out what was causing it, and I kind of got over it, but not quite. But I'm in a better better position to understand it, which I might speak more of as I go through this article. Fortunately, Asperger's adults who claim to have it hard have the power to turn the tables of their lives right side up and to take incredible progress as adults in both their personal and professional lives. Even through Asperger's adults usually having numerous struggles in adulthood for countless reasons, there are crucial practices they are incorporate into their daily lives to work towards success. The happiest and most successful Asperger's adults significantly understand. Okay, here we go. Number 1, self-awareness and how to practice it every day. Most adult Asperger's itself and how it applies to them every day. Most about Asperger's itself and how it applies. Yeah, okay, the first one, self-awareness. You become more self-aware, especially especially when you go through changes in your life and it increases your self-awareness, and nothing narcissistic is holding you back, because if you're stuck in a box, you're stuck in a mindset, and you don't grow, you're less self-aware. Understanding the self, yeah. Both your pros and cons, that's a good thing. How much love and kindness she receives, even at times when it does not appear evident. I mean, I can see love and kindness in people if they show it. I guess because most Aspys don't interpret other people's reactions and emotions. We do interpret them, we just don't react to them as much as most people. Or you can be hypersensitive, but I don't know if that's under the same category. Okay. Yes, perfectionism, because we like to focus onto one subject and know that inside out. Sort of like ultra hyper focusing. So the weaknesses and challenges, so that's pros and cons again. Pros and cons. To increase knowledge, yes. Yes, because that's another thing with narcissism. Because if you're not knowing your pros and cons, and you're just self-centered and heartless like a narcissist, then you're more likely not to expand your knowledge. emotional intelligence and how to work towards it. Now, emotional intelligence. Alright, Google states emotional intelligence is the capacity to be aware of, control and express one's emotions, and how to handle interpersonal relationships judicially and empathetically. Emotional intelligence, also known as emotional quotient, is the capability of individuals to recognize their own emotions and those of others, discern between different feelings and label them. Yes, and strangely enough, I think if we autistic people are more that, it's because there's this woman, Petra. She's doing a video on the narcissist is not capable of expressing emotional intelligence. How about that? Oh, I thought that was kind of interesting. Because we're more liable to work towards right, before I get to number 7 on health, which will go back to the narcissist, right.
Also, welcome back. I'm Petra for the new subscribers. I don't believe in coincidences, so just to shed some light on why I chose this topic today, I received 2 emails from a Dutch viewer and an American viewer asking what my thoughts are on the reptilian brain. So this topic has been on my topic list for quite a while, but there have been so many new topics that it has sort of fallen to the bottom of the list. So I thought, well, can't be a coincidence today. I'm going to do a video on this topic. I'm not a brain expert, so if it could be that my information is not absolutely accurate. So please make me aware of that if it is not accurate. I just want to speak a bit on the brain and emotional intelligence, which is what I'm an advocate for emotional intelligence, and I believe especially when we are recovering from the trauma of narcissistic abuse, that it is very important to understand what emotional intelligence is and how we can use this to our advantage when dealing with the trauma, or for those of you who are still involved in a relationship with a narcissist, how to deal with that, with the abuse, until, of course, you are able or willing to get out of the relationship. So, to back that up a bit, the reptilian brain, that was the question. And I just want to touch on 3 parts of the brain, that is the reptilian brain, the limbic brain, and the neocortex. To start with the reptilian brain, this is the reflex brain. And why do I say reflex? It is because we tend, when we are using this part of our brain, we tend to react instead of respond. So the reptilian brain feeds us fear and anxiety, stress, worry, and it causes us to become paralyzed. So when we are operating from the place of fear, anxiety, all the things that I've just named, this is our reptilian brain at work. And this is why we also go into this cognitive dissonance when we are breaking away from the narcissist. We have conflicting beliefs. So we believe that the narcissist is good. We believe that if we just do our utmost and if we try our hardest, that we will get them to see our side of the story, and that they will be able to interact with us at a healthy level. So this is the cognitive dissonance from the reptilian brain, because the reptilian brain is very much survival based, or operates from this feeling of survival mode. So when we are feeling emotional pain, which is caused by the narcissist in the narcissistic relationship, again, we are operating from our reptilian brain. So we go into a state of fear, we go into anxiety. When we have broken away from the narcissist, we still tend to operate from this side of our brain, from the left side, because it keeps us safe. So,
and that's why I had fear and anxiety before I knew what the manipulation was of a narcissist. On number 1, self-awareness of me and others. To understand my weaknesses. Number 5, to understand weaknesses and challenges. Like I said, pros and cons, which narcissists don't really do. Because they think they're kind of, well, I don't know if perfect's the right word, but
if we're feeling fear or anxiety, the most natural thing to do, we react instead of responding. So by reacting, we will go and we will call the narcissist, or we will send them a text message, or we will try and get back in touch with them in order to soften the emotional pain that we are going through. So the reptilian brain is designed to keep us safe. It is designed to alert us when a dangerous situation is about to occur. So it's like, when I speak of reacting instead of responding, it is a reflex that you get. Someone does something or says something and it hurts, we tend to react straight away instead of taking the time to calm ourselves and then respond. So the other thing as well is that our breathing comes from the left side of the brain. This is where it is navigated from the reptilian brain. So what happens when we are in a state of fear is that we tend to freeze. We stop breathing. When there is a threat to our safety, a threat to our life, when there is a threat of fear, of danger, we hold our breath. So this tends to keep us safe. Sorry, I'm just looking down, just looking down to my notes, see if I'm following them correctly. So when in fear, we stop breathing. But when you feel this anxiety, this is also putting your emotional intelligence into play. When you feel that anxiety, so when I translate that to how we interact with the narcissist, when you feel the anxiety, instead of holding your breath when that phone rings, when that message comes through, when you are insulted, when you are manipulated, you need to check your breathing. So put your neocortex, that's where the emotional intelligence comes from. That is the other part of our brain, the neocortex, that will help us to not react straight away, but to take, it's like when someone says to you, count to 10 before you respond.
Okay, so number 7. All aspects of health and how to build and maintain it. Well, here's the thing about you. One person who's living with a narcissist, especially the narcissist I had to live with, was decreasing my health. And if I wasn't in my own mind and didn't think critically, number 1, self-awareness on this thing of self, I would be completely manipulated by the narcissist and would not have a self. And living with the narcissist, because the narcissist I was living with had a very never cleaned and always blamed other people for his mess, because that's what they do. They blame their victims and they never accept their faults. So it's both mentally and physically unhealthy to live with a narcissist. That's why I went no contact, because I had a medical problem that was making me sicker by having anxiety and fear applied to me, because I didn't know what was happening to me at the time, because the narcissist was taking advantage of my medical problem for his own selfish needs. And going no contact, doing that increases your health, both your mental and physical health, gets rid of your anxiety. You start understanding more of what's happening to you. Start to all sort of make sense. I don't know, this could be set for Aspergers and non-Aspergers alike, but there is things that I'd like to talk about that happened to me that I sort of saw through or have dealt with, that others probably take longer to find out how quick I took the understanding from it than others. So number 4, perfectionism. So to perfect myself to a better state of conscience, mind and physical, is to go no contact. So it becomes like a religious, ideological habit. You do this to get better. That in the same way that religious people think they do it for whatever reason, religious or ideological, both religious and non-religious alike, but as long as it's not enhancing narcissism, you're good. Or cognitive dissonance. Which also, because the narcissist will always also... Number 5, again, back to number 5, increasing knowledge and knowing your pros and cons, your weaknesses and your strengths. That's something the narcissist won't do. That's something that the narcissist will try and get their victim not to do, so he can have more control, right? Over his victim or her victim. But knowing that yourself and breaking free from that, then yeah, you're better off for it, which is in these 20 things. Alright. So the weird thing with my health is, before I had the accident, I was top-notch health, right? How I ate, how I looked, mentally and physically, how I slept, how I got things done, all pretty decent. Not perfect, but decent. Time management was decent enough. Because time management is number 8 on the list. And then I had to come home and deal with this nonsense of the narcissist and find out what it all meant and why it was happening to me. Because I was at uni for 5 years and then I had the accident and had to come home and then had to find out what a narcissist was and why this stuff was happening to me. And it's a whole thing that thousands of other people go through, except the only difference was it only happened to me because the narcissist saw an opportunity because of my medical problem. He thought he can get one over on me, and it didn't work. Thank God it didn't work. I'm sort of dividing this between a review of autism and my narcissist. Sorry about this. It's really hard to break these two apart because they're so connected. So, such as networking and official greetings. Number 9, useful business concepts, such as networking and official greetings. Well, I'm learning business Japanese in my own time, and also science and neuroscience and anatomy and everything else. So, I guess learning business for a job in both career environment and professional career and what's it called, formal and informal situations. So yeah, I'm kind of, but not. And then interacting with other people. Okay, so number 9, useful business concepts. Oh, sorry, number 10, leadership principles and how to manage or guide situations, any kind of leadership role. Wow, that's a big... that's a big spectrum of things for leadership roles. CEOs and... I guess anything from CEOs to FX production assistants. You got to learn to not just leadership, but you got to learn to get along. Yeah, that makes sense. But so guiding situations, yes. Leadership can go either way, because leadership, I think you have to learn more from experience. So, to quote my Japanese lesson learning, it's Ore Mawabi Shinko. No, sorry. Ore Mawabi Shinko. Wabi Ninjokinin Mashita? Damn it. When I try and remember it off the bat, it's a bit hard. I can spell it quite well. Alright, where was I? I will perfect that. So. Okay. Okay, so communication techniques, that can be bind into number 10, the principles and how to manage and guide situations. So that's kind of one of the same, and that can also go into marketing, communication techniques in various contexts. Number 12, self-advocacy, taking control of major decisions in life. Well, that goes back to both number 1, self-awareness, For me it does. Let's see. So self-awareness. Number 5, weaknesses and strengths. And number 7. So all this binds up really. Yeah. So I was kind of doing that, and then I found out I had to deal with a narcissist because of my medical problem, and that forces people to make a decision that will help them better, because not all of them do it, but they should go no contact for a better life, which is a decision only the victim can make. It's their choice at the end of the day. And not just that, not just taking control of life, but well, yes, but that encompasses number 7 again, my health. So I'm in control of my health, my physical, my mental state. I'm not being lied to. I don't have to listen to narcissistic, ridiculous bullshit, pretty much. Basic living skills, which again would go into 12 and 1. I'm pretty good at money management, maintenance, house maintenance. If there was a problem, I would try and fix it, but if I didn't know how to fix it, then I would get a professional, you know. So, number 4, isolation. How to positively perceive it and how to put an end to it. Especially if you're dealing with a narcissist, because the narcissist tries to brainwash you into thinking if you go, you wouldn't be able to survive on your own, because then they try and install fear into you, like Petra said, of isolation and loneliness, and you know, they're projecting their fear onto you, trying to keep you are their supply of narcissistic supply, so that's what they do to keep you there.
That is when the neocortex comes into play. So you stop and you breathe yourself through the fear, breathe yourself through the anxiety, and this is of course when there is not an acute threat to your life. So if you're in the jungle and a lion comes roaring after you, of course you're not going to stop and breathe yourself through the fear. You are going to run to keep yourself safe. So the reptilian brain is also good at warning us of danger. So yes, when you see that...
So, I just remembered that Japanese thing now. It was, Ore Mawabi Shonin Jinko Shimashita. I got it. It took me a while to remember the whole thing. But that's Japanese for learning from experience, like me with the narcissist. Learning from experience that it would be a bad decision to stay with the narcissist and decrease my health and my mental state.
Lie and run, but when you're dealing with the narcissist, take the steps to calm yourself. When you're dealing, in fact, with any kind of anxiety, stop, take a breath, breathe yourself through an uncomfortable situation. And when you have done that, when you have counted to 10, then you are able to access that part of your brain that will allow you to respond in an emotionally intelligent way through the neocortex. The reptilian brain is also very receptive to manipulation. So when the narcissist is bullshitting us, when they are intimidating us and manipulating us, it is being transmitted through the narcissist's reptilian brain, and it is transferred into our reptilian brain.
Alright. So employment, number 15, employment concepts and how puzzle pieces fit together in the Asperger's individual's life. Yes. It depends how developed they are for employment, what kind of thing they're going for, how they can get around things. It's sort of here and there and everywhere. For me, at the moment, I'm stuck between trying to get better from my medical problem and trying, because on the one hand, people who have similar symptoms to me get it from narcissistic abuse, while you could get it beforehand and then it'd be used against you from the narcissist. But either way, I had to deal with twice the damage that a normal person dealing with a narcissist would have to, because of the accident I had. Otherwise I would have left earlier. I would have gone no contact earlier. But I'm between like learning Japanese and improving my visual effects work from uni and trying to understand better human nature. I have seen things like what are they called? Self-employment jobs. Oh, not self-employment. What's it called? Freelance jobs that I could do, maybe. So also increasing my health. The first part was to find a place what was tidier, and I can make meals that would increase my, I don't know, so I would be healthier, so I wouldn't have a dirty kitchen like my dad did, and then I can have a cleaner place to think and do stuff, and but also make meals to improve my memory, because I know things like avocado and coconut milk, and I think there's a list of 7 things that I try and incorporate in my diet to see if it improves my memory. But since I also had a concussion from the accident I had, I don't know how much that's messing with my memory, because since then I had much harder problems processing my Japanese and learning my visual effects work and everything than I did before the accident, so I know it affected me to some degree. So I started learning neuroscience as well. The memory is processed, and yeah. Okay, so number 16, spiritual religious concepts and how to use books, teachings, sermons, church service, etc. for personal gains and for a strong mission. Well, I don't really believe in God, but spiritual is interesting. But I do like reading and understanding other concepts. of religious and other ideologies, and especially to keep away from narcissistic ideologies, because there's a lot of them. Both religious and non-religious alike. But in doing so, I've noticed that narcissists seem to gravitate towards more narcissistic ideologies as per their nature to kind of do so. And you kind of see that some of them, like the covert narcissists, would usually tend to go towards a covert ideology of narcissistic behavior, while overt would do something similar. And they could mix up, and I heard that covert can change to overt, and they go from covert to overt as they age. So that's kind of interesting, because once you start learning about narcissists, you can't freaking stop, man. You watch so much and read so much stuff. It's like a drug. I don't know. It's like but that goes back to knowledge and knowing what you're dealing with. Number 1, self-conscious on the list. Self-awareness. It goes through most of them, up to 15 at the moment. Health, emotional intelligence. Yeah, so you can see where I'm going with this. So when they wind you up about religion and shit, and you start doing the research and you realise that their statistics are wrong, because that's another trait of a narcissist, that 90% of the time, or say almost 100% of the time, they make up stuff to suit their own needs, and you realise it's wrong anyway. What they're saying is wrong anyway. That's basically what a narcissist is fundamentally. So yeah, I do like understanding those spiritual concepts and everything. And you start to realise where someone goes wrong on something. Okay, number 7, if applicable, parenting skills and how to apply them across a child's various circumstances and stages of development. What if I ever have children? That just goes without saying, really. Okay, number 18, relationship dynamics of all kinds and how the knowledge applies to any kind of interpersonal engagement, e.g. person, age, location, and purpose for presence and presence has differences from situation to situation. Yes. I have a dynamic range of friends that range and have all sorts of ways of life that I have managed to befriend. And in expanding my knowledge of how other people live, yes. Yeah, that really goes without saying. Number 19, what makes a person physically, mentally and socially strong, and how such strategies apply to them. Yes, number 19, physically, mentally, how to get, that goes back to health as well. Your physical and mental health, your own life, in your own hands, pulling yourself up by your bootstraps, in other words, and not being manipulated by a narcissist. If you even know that you're being manipulated, because yeah, golden childs usually become the next narcissist and never know that they're being manipulated, while scapegoats find out and go their own route and get stronger and go outside of the box. Yeah, so that 918 definitely applies to me, which applies to 10 other things in this list that we just gone through. Pretty much, it all interweaves. And finally, number 20 at 45 minutes in. Jesus. Important life lessons that directly and fully resonate with them, as well as where to find them and how to learn them while blocking out false information. Once again, narcissists feed false information. You learn life lessons not to believe the lies. You grow better as a person. You get physically and mentally health. So that goes back to every other thing on this list, pretty much. Almost everything, I'd say. Including building your own, which one is it? It's, yeah, perfectionism in a certain subject. So including perfectionism, so learning from your own mistakes from that perfectionism. But as we all know, perfectionism, like that song, perfectionism can't exist, because for it to be perfect, then it has to have a fault. If that kind of makes sense. That song, there's a song about it. But I know I talked about the narcissist quite a bit, but yeah, that's what happens when you find out you're dealing with a narcissist. You can't stop. You see it everywhere. Everywhere. You see it in movies. It's like the Matrix. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. Alright, almost now. 47 minutes. There was a old lady. Well, I don't want to. I guess she might be 50. And she was helping me understand what narcissist was when I didn't know as much as I knew now. And she was listening to me pretty widely. And she knew I was autistic, and she worked with autistic people in for care for disabled kind of thing, most of her life, and she's a good lady. I forget her name, but I know her face, and we're good friends. Yeah, she was convincing me you got to go no contact. She was helping me. And she did. Yeah, so I did the right thing. I was guessing worrying that it won't last, and that I might not ever get better from this medical problem. But I guess I'll go in for my ultra scan and at some point, or maybe they'll find out. Maybe I had. I don't think it's a spine injury. I just don't know what else is causing the continence problem. But Um, yeah. So, learning about culture and human behavior and psychology is mostly due to the narcissist, because if I didn't have to go through that, then I would never know about it, and I would have been stuck in my autistic ways, and I would have been more focused on my visual effects work, and I would have cut all this other stuff out, just my Japanese and my visual effects. I wouldn't have done psychology, I wouldn't have done, I would have done, well, I would have done anatomy, but I wouldn't have done neuroscience, and I wouldn't have done psychology and human behavior. And having personal experience with it is kind of interesting. Learning from experience. Sometimes life just takes you in another direction you never thought you would go. You never saw coming. Just hits you like a ton of bricks because you have no choice. That's basically what I went through. And I would have had no choice if I was dead to it like my brother is. Just... Because I guess my brother is now destined to become the next narcissist, and there's nothing I could do about it because that's human nature, apparently. I look into it so much. But you never know. Life throws a weird rock at you, and you never know what's coming around the corner. This is life incarnate. This is... And then everything the narcissist says that you are not. You learn that pretty much. Oh, he says, oh, you don't believe in anything, you don't research anything, and then you spend 4 months before that researching everything he's looking into and realizing it's the wrong thing because it only increases his narcissism and doesn't help in the long run for anything else. And then you realize about yourself, back to number one, self-awareness from that abuse. So in a way I should be thankful that it happened, to be myself, to, as Dr. Peterson puts it, face the chaos, or to, because the chaos is basically the narcissist, but he's dealing with a societal narcissism while I'm dealing with an individual narcissist, or did deal with it, but never truly goes away because it's, because it's their nature, you see. Something to think about. Right, I think we're almost running to an hour. I'm trying to think if there's anything I want to really finish off with. Even the lady stated that most of the world doesn't understand what a narcissist is, and to learn all this and then join the narcissistic resistance channel is the narcissistic recovery. 1 second. Yeah. To know that, yeah, it's a thing that affects everyone on every continent on the planet is interesting. But right. I hope this has been insightful, interesting in any way. So basically this has become my life now. I've even found an ideology that is non-narcissistic, that no one else in the world knows, that you combine two ideologies to make this, and it makes the perfect thing. And it's about the self, it's about going no contact, it's about freedom. It's like the number 1 on the 20 list that I read. It's the number 1 on the 20 list. It's the incarnate of me, but it's me without realizing it's me. It's me if I wasn't here, and if someone else found it in the future, it would be the same thing. It would just... It's like the incarnate, but it's happening on a global scale now. So it's also... There are narcissist societies destroying Western society or something similar to that. So, but they're under a different name, like Marxist ideology that Dr. Peterson's dealing with. It's the same thing, pretty much. Yeah. Alright, everyone have a great day. Happy New Year. And for you narcissistic survivors out there, have a narcissistic free day or month or however long you can